Hi everyone, it's Queevil here. Hope you're doing well. Today we're starting a new book overview series. In this series I'll go through every book in the game, one book at a time per video, explain and demonstrate the spells of the book, the familiar, and provide you with some use cases or fun things you can do with the spells. And we're starting with full fire today. As far as what's meta from the fire book, in low times, which is going to be 20s or less, you'll see flame shield, and that's pretty much about it. Maybe Fire Arrow from a select few people like OA. The full Fire book as a whole is popular as well in low times. And then for high times, 30 seconds plus, Rain of Fire and Rain of Arrows, pretty much the only viable spells that you'll see, basically ever. So with that being said, let's start to get into the spells. Now we're starting with Fireball. This is a 50 damage spell with a decent AoE. You can see here, I'll try it. And you can see that AoE's not too bad. We'll get one of our players in here. Some cool things that you can do with this include taking down minions that are 50 health or less. And one of those, which is a double summon, is a Monarch, and you're just going to aim it. I'll zoom in so you guys can see better. Just aim for like the right side of the Monarch on the left, or if you summon them this way, right, then you would aim on the left side of the rightmost Monarch. A little confusing maybe, but makes sense. You know, slow me down, pause the video. And so that's one cool use case for the spell. Besides that, you could kill drones, you could kill boars, you can blast from the past a flighted user and then fireball them to deflight, and that's about it for the really popular use cases. Fire Arrow, pretty cool. This is a fireball that has an arrow, so it's targeted. So let's pull this up here, and then I go like that, and I alt extended to get some power behind it, and boom! See how it curved all the way to get to my opponent. Some cool things you can do is when your opponent teleports on the side, you can actually aim to knock them. The way that you do this is basically you're going to aim right above, like on the top left, and that's going to knock them off of the map into the water. So we're going to try this, and I just get extra power with the alt, just so that it does the full arc, and I fucked it up. Let me just try this one more time, maybe a bit less power, like that. There we go. Okay, so as you guys probably didn't know, I'm actually not a robot, I'm human, and I make mistakes. There's Exhibit A of that. So next up we have Drop Arrow, which you can do with Fire Arrow. I can attempt this just in one take here, and let's go back, and I'll just show you guys roughly what it is like. If you would like a full video on the Drop Arrow, then let me know in the comments. So you can see the border move, so it's kind of hard, but basically this is the point where the arrow will start to curve, and I'm going to guess like right here-ish. And so let's actually move up here a bit to set up this arrow. So I'm going to put it like right there. Okay. And then, oh, that's pretty bad, huh? Let's get one more shot at that. Aim it a bit higher, like maybe there. Okay. Should be much better. There we go. Okay. So you can see that I am not a complete scrub, just a moderate scrub. And if you guys would like, once again, a full video on how to do drop arrows well, then let me know in the comments. Next up, we have Lava Bomb, the best bomb in the game. No, just kidding. It's actually pretty ass, and we're going to reset Sandbox here, and I'll get my player. So Lava Bomb is just a small AoE 50 damage bomb, and one cool thing you can do with it is stick with it. So let's say I have my player here, and once again, trying this in one take. You're just going to do something like that, and then boom, look at that. Look at that stick. Let's go. I just gave people a seizure probably with that. Sorry about that, everyone. And yeah, you can do some cool sticks Ooh, even that one was a stick. Let's go! I am just on fire here today. So, moving on to Magma Bomb. You can do the same type of shit with this. Check this out. Just a nice stick. Boop! And look at how much damage this could do. A lot. Boom! 75. So anyway, those are called ceiling sticks, I guess, when you can stick it to their feet. Kind of neat. Look at me rhyming. So that Magma Bomb actually can do up to 125 damage. But, you know, I did 75 there. The spell has pretty high RNG. Sometimes it does like 25 and you're like, fuck this game, I'm just going to cry in a corner. As with Lava Bomb, like I said, you can do that sticking. The bombs have the same weight. So just with the right amount of power, basically, the bomb has to be going down right at the apex where you're aiming. So basically I toss this magma bomb, and right when it's about to go down, it goes down like onto the player's feet or onto the player's outfit. Next up we have Flame Shield. This is a defensive spell that blocks incoming projectiles. You can cancel it with Blast from the Past and then pummel your opponent. The shield lasts about 3 seconds before it cancels out, which may come into play with spells like Deluge. So let's grab Deluge here real quick and I can show you guys. So if I have a player here and he casts Flame Shield, alrighty, let's first look at BFTP. And you'll notice the area that Flame Shield deflects spells. I'm going to put a graphic up. It's not the best, you know. Just kidding. I mean, it's super high res, super well put together. But no, I'll put one up so that you guys can see what's the range of deflection that Flame Shield will deflect spells. In short, it's basically like this area, the top, for anything from the top. And if you generally aim spells like directly at pretty high power, that'll be effective. Or from below, Flame Shield doesn't work at all. So doing something like that would be effective as well. But yeah, like I said, you see Flame Shield there. I deactivated it with BFTP, which I'll show just one more time. And as you can see, it deflects the BFTP, and you see the shield loses some opacity there, and then boom, it's deactivated. So, and then let's look at Deluge, especially these spells that have droplets. 1, 2, 3, right? So yeah, I counted a little bit late, but roughly 3 seconds, and then the shield cancels, and you can see the rest of the Deluge droplets dropped onto the player. About the only cool thing that you can do with this spell is just have them yell, you know, why would you use this AIDS broken spell against me, you absolute noob, or they might choose some other choice words. So especially in 10s, it can be quite a tilting spell to face. Next up we have Flame Wall. Basically, it's a stronger flame shield that you target. You put it on the ground, and if you walk over it, you take 50 damage. If you place it on someone, knockback is pretty nasty, so you may be able to get some nice sinks, which I can show you here. So let's say that you have a setup where you've got your opponent on the edge of the map. Another thing that you can do with Flame Wall is also just knock your opponent into it for extra damage. Like you clock them into a flame wall and it does like, you know, 130 or something ridiculous. So you'll place it just slightly off center here, the direction that's opposite where they're gonna fall. So they're falling into the water to the right, so I'm gonna place the flame wall just slightly off center to the left, and they're not gonna move at all. Fuck me. We're here to try this again and maybe test this out from a distance. What if I drop it? And also it's a little bit further from the center. Boom! Alright, so maybe that distance dropping it helps a little bit, and also wasn't quite too far away from the center of the Arcanist. So here we are, you know, learning. You're learning with me. Next up, we have Napalm Bomb. Actually, we're going to go to Napalm. Excuse me. Napalm is a 60 damage bolt spell. There's 5 damage per napalm. One thing that's pretty cool that you can do is sink opponents who are close to the water. So napalm is going to destroy some terrain around the opponent as it hits them. So we're just going to set up some sort of sink. I'm getting pretty close to the water because napalm doesn't have huge, you know, terrain destruction, but you can kind of see how it'll work here. Look at that. See, it does a little bit of terrain destruction, sunk an opponent. Pretty sick. Next up, we have Napalm Bomb. This is pretty neat. I'll show you guys one use case for this. It's pretty much the only one. I mean, obviously you can throw it to kind of zone your opponents because they can't walk on the napalm, they're going to get stunned. But one thing you can do, and let me grab Clock Tower, is not 100% reliably, you can de-tower with Napalm Bomb, which is pretty sick. So let's try that out. I'm just gonna drop it in here. Okay, so let's see. What does that do? Come on, 75. Oh, look at that, 70. Okay, so not quite, but if you put it into a tight spot, tight area around a tower, again, it has to be pretty small, enclosed area, then you'll be able to get a nice D-tower off with this weak-ass bomb. On to Rain of Fire. This is a weak aerial that does 25 damage per fireball. This can be useful to kill small minions such as swarms, storm spirits, and arcane eggs. A lot of those are used in 60Gs, which is why it's so useful in those modes. The spell's directional in modes above 10 seconds, which means that in games with 11 seconds or more, you can decide what way the aerial comes from. So I can press F to change the direction just as I would change the direction of my character. So, for example, see how I can press F to change the direction of my character. When I click Rain of Fire, do you see those arrows that show me, oh, this Rain of Fire is coming from the right, this Rain of Fire is coming from the left, right? And so you press F to change that, and also your character moves too, so you can use that as an indicator. And the key here with Rain of Fire is there's 5 fireballs, right? Unless I counted wrong. And I will confirm when I cast this, the middle one will land exactly on the player. Every single time, wherever your red indicator is, the middle one will land on a minion or a player. So you'll be able to guarantee, okay, this is going to at least do 25 damage, barring any damage reduction, Stone Familiar, BS, or whatever. So, for example, I need to kill this Storm Spirit. 25 damage, boom, that third fireball, the middle one, right on target. Another cheeky thing you can do with Rain of Fire is say, okay, my opponent has more than 25 health, I'd like to do a bit more damage. Well, fireballs have some AoE, so what you could do is say, okay, I'm going to have this middle fireball hit here, do some AoE, and then hopefully the fireball to its left will also do some AoE damage, and it'll do more than 25. And so you'd roughly, with experience, figure out, okay, I'm going to aim it right there, and let's see what that did. 201 damage. So it did almost a flat 50, which is 25 from the fireball to the right, 25 from the fireball to the left. So that's a nice cheeky trick. Next is an offer for you guys to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video so far or learning something new. It really helps me out, and we're on our way to 500 subscribers. So thanks so much. Next, we're moving on to Rain of Arrows. This is a strong 75 damage aerial. Also can be directional in 11 seconds or more. So as you can see, arrows coming from the right. Boom. It also has some pretty nice knockback. So let's say that my opponent was set up here, perhaps on an edge, and that's it. He's done. He's cooked. Boom. Goodbye. Yeah, be careful if you're in a game with 11-second turns or with 10-second turns or lower. So it's not directional in those games, which means you could be saying, oh, look at that, I can knock my opponent with a nice rain of arrows. But it's randomly directional in those low times games. And the reason is because a lot of 10's books had aerial spam, and they used Rain of Fire and Rain of Arrows, and then directionally they're super strong, and it was pretty abused. So in high times you could do this knock, right? But in low times, let's say it's random, and you say, oh, I am gonna, act like it's directional. I thought it would be directional in 10's. And then you're like, oh, let me get this sync. Oh, oops. And then you just lose a turn, and you could lose the game. So, as I usually like to say, you just cry. The last 2 spells are level 3s. First we have Volcano. This is a, well, volcano that spawns at the targeted location, and it comes up from the bottom of the map. So without the familiar, the initial turns are pretty weak, which I'll just show you guys how this looks. And you can see it heats up fast, no pun intended. A cool use case for this is when you think you're casting Rain of Arrows on your opponent, but you misclick, and then you waste your level 3. Check this out. Oh, cool. My opponent, he's down so far. Let me cast Volcano on him. And then you end up with like, misclicking Rain of Arrows here. Let me get this Kano done so I can demonstrate this. Look at that. You can get an idea for the power behind the no familiar Volcano. Yeah, fairly potent, right? As you get to turn 3, 4, 5. Anyway, what I was trying to demonstrate is like you could misclick, right? And you're thinking, oh great, let me just put this Volcano, on my opponent. And then look at what happens. No! Or what could happen is you're you're wanting to like Volcano and or you're wanting to Rain of Arrows and you have Volcano selected. And so you're thinking, "Oh, let me let me aerial my opponent," and then you just oops, volcanoed yourself. So anyway, last level 3 rounding out this list is a Flame Dragon. First thing to note is that when you summon it, you can actually hold Alt and you can mount it. And then you're thinking, okay, damn, I'm trapped. What do I do? Well, you can actually hold Alt. It's going to turn blue. That means that you're going to mount the dragon outside of the mud ball. Boom. Easy. You're free. Obviously, you wouldn't teleport there. I'd just flash off easily, right? But you get the idea. That's one nice use case for Flame Dragon. It has 200 health, as you guys see, and it has this strong Napalm Breath attack that does quite a bit of damage. That's no familiar right there. 70 damage. Pretty strong. Besides that, it is immune to some flame damage. For example, flame walls. So you can absorb flame walls. And that'll look like this, and it'll just pop the player up. You might be able to, I'm going to test this, trigger a flame wall near an opponent, and then the opponent would take damage. Let's see. Okay, you'd have to be pretty close to it, almost like on top of it, so that's a little bit more tricky to pull off. But one last thing that the dragon can do is, let's say I have some napalm out here, and I can go and absorb the napalm. And if you have an opponent near the napalm as well, they may take some damage as you absorb it. So look at that, and it just destroys the terrain. It's pretty handy, right? To dig to your opponent, maybe you have a minion that you want to open up a path to get to them, and this is one way that you can do it. And I think that about covers it for Dragon. One quick thing to note though, like it doesn't have immunity from like a fireball. You can escape like Ice Shield and different things like that. I won't demonstrate, but just like you would have a Pegasus, let's say you had an Ice Shield here, you could just jump through it and then mount. You can also Alt extend through an Ice Shield. So let's say I have Ice Shield there, and then I've got my Flame Dragon. Look at that. Boom. So, alright, that about covers it. To round out this video, we're going to talk about the familiar. As you can see here, it says at maximum power, your flame spells will do 50% more damage. So 10% more damage for each level. So Fireball, for example, will go up in 5 damage per level, up to 75. Lava Bomb will do 75. Magma Bomb will do 50% more. Can't do that quick math in my head. And those are the main damage boosts, but they'll all get a damage boost. I just don't know the numbers off of the top of my head. But basically you take 50% of their base damage, so 25 for example for Fireball, because it does 50 max, and you add it. So 25 plus 50 is 75. At max level, you'll learn Fire Wave and Meteor. Fire Wave is a cool flash-like spell that you can cast to blast an enemy off the map, which I will demonstrate real quick here. So let's say you have an enemy here and you want to blast them off the map. It'll look something like that. Okay, you'll notice that because of the way that I was positioned, he went horizontally. You would want to be under your opponent because it's basically, think about the spell as emanating from the middle of your Arcanist. There's no indicator like with Flash, so you can't really direct it. But as you can see, basically if you're under your opponent, he'll get popped up. If you're level with your opponent, he'll get popped out horizontally. And if you're on top, he will get either, he won't move or he'll get flung downward. Okay, so that's about it for Fire Wave. finally, we have Meteor Shower, which is an arena-wide aerial, and it rains meteors on the field. These are basically napalm balls, and they do not come down on you or your teammates. They do about 50 damage, contrary to what the description says. I think it says 15. And if you get hit with some napalm, it'll do a little bit more than 50 damage. So let's just demonstrate that real quick. And it also has a cool sound effect. So yeah, 200 to 135, and that's with the full familiar. Obviously, the Meteor Shower, you need level 5, and also Fire Wave, you need level 5, so you're not able to use these at lower familiar levels. So that wraps up my book overview for Full Fire. Hopefully you found some of these use cases I showed instructional for you and learned something new. This is the first installment of this full series, so any feedback is much appreciated, positive or negative. Let me know in the comments what book you'd like me to go over next, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day.